Hello, good night.
Hello, good evening, sir.
Good evening, good evening.
All right, so on the line with us in Grenada is a promoter, entrepreneur, and the man himself, Montee Greenidge. I get the name right?
Yes, you did well.
All right, because that's not the home name now, but that's not what it's called on the line, right here, so
no,
I have to make sure,
actually, well, the name that you know, actually, that's actually my second name. Everybody know me as Eddie.
Right.
Yes.
What we wanted to get a little insight on this evening really was this change in leadership that you all that you all had just recently. Is Deacon, that's how it's pronounced his name, or Deacon?
Yes, Deacon Mitchell.
Deacon Mitchell, right.
Yes.
First of all, he's of no relation to Keith Mitchell, right?
No.
Which is, and it's strange. Go ahead.
Unless it's a pumpkin vine. That did not come out in a campaign. You never know. People just find out things after the fact.
Right.
Because the thing is, we know in other countries sometimes, family they start coming to the politics and then win and take over now.
It's a kind of a legacy thing. One, the pops leave and the son come and take over. And he looks so young too. When I saw the picture, I was like, wait, now, Grenada, like they elect a 14-year-old. This man looking real young. I think I read he was 44 or something like that, but he looked real young.
Yeah, he looked younger than 44.
Yeah.
So he could have, if you told me he was Keith Mitchell's son, I wouldn't have been surprised.
Right. Well, I guess maybe the youthfulness, maybe it's genetics.
Right.
Okay.
It might be testament to the soil and the food that we eat in here in Grenada. That's all I can say on that one.
So he's the leader of the NDC, right?
Yes, he's the leader of the NDC and now our new Prime Minister.
In the last election, though, the NDC had get relics, not so?
That would be an understatement. Not just in the last election, the previous two elections.
Right.
And to give you a backdrop on that, we have 15 constituencies in Grenada, and they were swept in 2013 and 2018.
Jesus Christ.
The Keith Mitchell and his NNP administration won all 15 seats
Twice.
for the previous twice, back to back.
So then, what could cause a major switch up like that? Or what do you think might have caused it?
Let me tell you. Right. So let me tell you what I can tell you what. There's people that have perceptions about what happened, and I can tell you what my sense of what happened is. Right. After these two setbacks, I think in essence what the word on the ground was that people wanted to see change. They wanted to see new leadership in the NDC. They wanted to see new faces because I think the previous bunch of people that they had, they went to the polls back to back and lost, right? So the feedback they were given the leadership is that you all need to refresh the party, bring new faces, bring fresh faces, bring younger faces. You understand? So I think coming out of that, and I guess they were doing their post-mortem, I think maybe that is the feedback they got, and so be they went and they looked for new leadership and they looked for new potential candidates.
And they get the youngest, freshest face they could find.
Boy, and because I think as far as I understand, there was a lot of suitors, and this is who emerged, right? And if from my observation, as from a neutral standpoint, I can tell you that from the time this man was elected the leader of the NDC, there was a kind of love affair going on, if you ask me, because he looked the part and he sung the part. You understand? He was charismatic in the way that he in his delivery, and he came across really, you know when you're speaking to somebody and the intelligence, just radiates, you understand? And I think he was speaking to a lot of issues that people could resonate with. You understand?
So you think was he one of the people who were saying that Carnival should have happened in Grenada last year?
Well, the thing about it, if that is something that never came up during the campaign, and he never made a public statement where that is concerned, right? So I don't know his standpoint on that, right? I think throughout the campaign, I think he spoke on COVID. He understand the challenges, and even I think he gave praises to the then government of how they handle COVID to some degree, right? However, I think he did point out that there were certain things that you should consult with the people instead of, pushing things on people's shoulders, so to speak, right? So I don't think he really spoke to that of Carnival and I can't speak to what his position was on Carnival.
Right.
I can tell you once he zeroed in on the issues that he thought was important to the people,
right,
and he make sure he sent it home.
Well, right, and that's what I wanted to kind of hone in on. What were those issues? Because, I mean, I know you say they lost the elections handily twice, and so they wanted new. Obviously, the party knew they needed to change, but still, people wouldn't vote them in unless they were unhappy in some way, shape, or form with what was taking place under the NNP is the name of the party, right? Yeah.
Yes, the NNP, NNP versus the NDC, right?
Right. So what were some of those issues that he spoke to that you think resonated with the people of Grenada?
Right. So I think what they did, and they did craftily, is that they went into the different communities and they took a campaign strategy whereby they had a lot of town halls, a lot of face-to-face, right, with different communities, inviting people into the community, into these town halls to find out what it is that they want to see in their community, right? So, for instance, if you say, well, you must say about Gov. Gov is a fishing village. Gov is famous for Karani James came from Gov, that kind of Mr. Killer came from Gov. So he went into those villages and said, what it is that you want to see in your villages? And people came out in large numbers and said, okay, we want to see facilities for fishing. We want to see schools for people because we live on an island and fishing is our bread and butter. We want to see a fishing school. The different things that people found that was important, and they went to different parts of the island and did likewise.
So is it that they went to parts of the island that were normally neglected?
Well, I wouldn't say no, yes and no. They went to parts of the island that was normally neglected, but I think they went to parts of the island that still was thing that they weren't sufficiently served, so to speak, right? Because, politics is something that, is sometimes perceived very partisan because some people might be served, but not all the people, right? And it's sometimes based on affiliation and that kind of thing. And that was some of the things you saw coming through the campaign, that some people feel that they are marginalized and, there's only some people eating and some not eating. So all these things came up. And I think that was what they used to create their manifesto, right? Because when they finally put out their manifesto, the things that you heard in the manifesto is things that you heard on the campaign, right? So I think it resonated with a lot of people.
I'm glad you mentioned manifesto there, because one of the issues that we have in Trinidad and Tobago is because of the racial divide here, all politics tends to go down that line, and issues tend to be sidelined, and really and truly you find a large majority of the voting blocks, they go in a direction, they chose the direction they're going in no matter what these politicians say on the issues, because they're really voting based on texture of hair and race, you know what I mean? But across in Grenada, obviously, there's just one large demographic of mainly Afro-Grenadian people. So so is it that you would say in Grenada, issues really make a big difference across there, so people really pay attention to manifestos and they hold their politicians to a particular standard based on what they promised in those manifestos?
Well, yes and no, because just like Trinidad has the dynamic of race, right, which is Indian and Negro, or Indian and African. In Grenada, right, although we may not have the dynamic of race, what we have the dynamic of is color, because so when I say color, not color in terms of complexion of skin.
Oh, but color of who you're voting for.
Or who you're voting for.
Okay,
right.
So
somewhere along the line, I can't tell you what year it started, but I don't know if this is something that happens in Trinidad. Just like you have NNP and you have NDC, people, they both parties have a base of a certain amount of people that consider themselves to be ites, let us call it.
Right. Okay.
Because they refer to them as NNPites or NDCites. And these people is like the bedrock of the party. They vote in NNP or they vote in NDC, no matter what.
And that's based on community. So like, you would find that certain communities have those affiliations and they die hard with that. Okay.
Yes. It's like, for instance, Dr. Keith Mitchell's constituency. This man constituency in the Northwest has never this man has never lost in his constituency, right? So it is known like a green constituency, so to speak, right?
Right.
The tongue of St. George has been for the past about 5 years has been a Peter David constituency, and I say Peter David constituency because Peter David once ran under the NDC ticket. He won his seat twice under the NDC ticket.
Right.
Served in opposition once, right? The very first time, then second time, served as an MP and served as the government. That's in 2008 when NDC won the election, right? And then he switched parties and went over to the NNP.
Well, they're taking that so easy across the way.
So they went like LeBron fans. Whoever team LeBron playing for, they run there. That's what went on with him.
So he no matter where it became a Peter David seat.
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
Because once he ran, he always won a seat. This election was the closest the race has ever been in the tongue of St. George. That's the hardest he had to work for that seat. Put it that way, right? So that's what I was saying. It's more color oriented NNPites and NDCI, and then you have some people that we will consider to be independents that can sway the election left or right. Or in the case of this election, I think where some people was so confident that the NNP was going to win again, that maybe even some of them stayed home. You understand? Some of the NNPites stayed home and figure, okay, we have that in the bag again, because a lot of people were saying 15 seats again. You know?
Wow. So this result would have actually come as a surprise to many people.
Yes, and I think it's a result that some people is taking some time to process.
Wow.
Because I think part of the problem is that the NNP has had a playbook that has worked and has been tested. And they came with it again. The difference is that under younger leadership, they were ready.
Right, they had a different strategy, so that same play couldn't really be as effective.
It could not work. Everything I think they tried to put out, nothing stuck. You understand?
Right.
They could not control the narrative of the election. And I think previously with the older leadership of the NDC, right, there were things that would be put out there and became truth. You know, sometimes you say something, enough times people start believing it.
Yeah.
What my observation with this campaign is that even when they put out things that they found that they would address it on right away. Right. So if something was put out on the airways or was said on a previous meeting, because I would listen to both. I always tell people I'm not an ite. Right. If I have to describe myself, I'm an independent. So I listen to both parties, right? And I think what the NDC did, they always stuck to message. As a matter of fact, they always put in this stay focused. You understand? They're trying to distract you from this. There was a lot of things, you know. I think one side was, as I said, they went back to the playbook of trying to use, I don't want to say the word insults because insult could be a strong word, but showing, as we just say, this Brango and, you know, and people. But it just did not stick this time. That playbook just did not work.
People wanted discussion on issues.
People wanted more substance. Yes, yes.
Right. Okay.
And I think by the time that they made that adjustment, I think it was too late.
No, the thing is, based on what I've realized, right? So, NNP was in power for 13 years, and then they lost a stint, and then so NDC was there for 5 years, and then next election again, NNP came back again. Do you think it might be a situation where, because like how PNM is in Trinidad now, where people just get vexed with PNM for a little bit of time and voting somebody else, and then
the next squad do get a long run at all. Let's get a Kubo Sweat and bring back.
You feel like it up? No, you feel we could see a change.
Let me put it this way, right? I think the NNP lost, and I just want to make this is my opinion, as I said, and I want to give this disclaimer. I'm not a political scientist. I'm not a pollster, so I'm giving my opinion from being on the ground. Because, you know, I'm a man that always on the ground. I listen to people, get the feedback from people where there is that. And my analysis of this election really and truly is that the thing that has been the strength of the NNP became the Achilles heel, right? They became the ball and chain around the party,
right?
Which was their leader. I think a lot of people, I think, although he was strong enough to win his constituency convincingly, I think a vast majority of the population just found that it was time for him to turn the leadership onto somebody else. Because
he's 75 years old.
Exactly. And he has uttered... And he has uttered in the past that he is going to retire, but every election it becomes something that you're hearing, but it seems to be never happening.
I hope that's not a key to see, because you know Rowley approaching 75. You understand what I'm saying? And we're going into election, so we hope
into an election.
But in terms of them potential for the NNP to come back, there's always the potential. But here's what. The NNP in its present form, I don't think could return to office.
Right.
And I say can't return to office because I think it really has become an age party, right? Too much of the old, the older folks, and I'm not saying that to say that older people can't contribute something, but you need to refresh the party at times,
right.
And I think even the younger ones that has joined the party has fallen into the mindset of that aged approach. You understand?
Right.
So I think the NNP as we know it, this is the last we'll see of them. That's just my opinion. Because if they don't change or if they don't evolve, I think they would become obsolete. To be honest with you.
All right. Before we wrap up the conversation, we're looking at August, right? Just about a month, basically a month and a week to go from now, right?
August is the time.
August is the time. Grenada Carnival. Are you ready? Are you prepared? What do you think? This is the first carnival you'll have in 2 years. Have you seen? Because I've been hearing, I don't know what truth is. I've been hearing that hotel accommodation all kind of spoken for already and that kind of thing. I don't know. Was it word on the ground? How you feel about it?
Well, let me just say it's the first official carnival.
All right. Yes.
After 2 years. Because, Grenadians, they just play the mask no matter what.
Yeah. We envy all.
It's a commitment you have to the art form.
I'm telling you, mask must play. Yeah. So I would say, right, in terms of the hotel stock, that is something that would always be a challenge, right? But, because a lot of people coming home, it's people coming from the diaspora and people that is of Grenadian parentage. A lot of people stay in private homes and by family and friends and stuff like that. So I don't see that being an issue. In terms, I think one of the challenges that I've been hearing, and I've been hearing that refrain over and over, is the price of airfare. Right. And I don't know. I can't speak to why that is the case because I would be speaking out of turn if I pretend I knew why the airfares are so high. But I think a lot of people have the opinion that these people trying to make the money that they didn't make during the pandemic, because some of the fares is so expensive, which in turn could become a turn off for a lot of people who want to come to Grenada for Carnival, because there has been, listen to me, the interest in Grenada, this would be the biggest carnival I think Grenada ever see if everything go as planned, right? And the music has already started coming out. The festival have already started. Election came and kind of, add a little different dynamic to it, but people were expecting either ways, But I think the carnival is going to be great. I think no matter what, people go and find a place to stay. So if persons in Trinidad intend to come for carnival, don't let any news of low room stock or so deter you. You go find somewhere to stay. You understand?
Yeah, well, if we had to come and stay by you, we come and stay by you. And it's that.
As a matter of fact, all you had to do like them Caucasians, people and them just leave wherever they were in the country with tents and all kind of thing and backpack all around the world.
I come into Grenada to see no tent. Sorry. I like Spice Mass so much.
Maybe there's one thing I could guarantee you though. You could go and sleep in a tent and you could be safe now, boy. You know you could wake up. You wake up and everything will be right in now, boy.
You understand? I think that's one of the most attractive features of Grenada Carnival and Spice Mass, because crime is something that is not an issue in Grenada. Just like with every country, you will have the odd instance or so where something happened. But we still, and I don't want to say that too loud, because I don't want people to say what they're doing there in Grenada.
But let me come and start the enterprise.
Yeah. But we still live in a society over here where we could leave our doors open. Listen, we could leave the key in the ignition, leave the vehicle in there, and nobody going with it, That is one of the beautiful things about living in Grenada. That is a beautiful thing about Spice Mass. It's a safe carnival. It's a safe mass. It's very, and it has all its different aspects. The traditional mass, like the jab, we're the land of the jab.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I say me and you and I had to have a conversation about even carnival and origin and where a lot of these different influences came from,
we had a discussion, but I feel like because Jude is a man, Jude didn't too care about them thing now. Jude is a man, once it have bam to wine on partner, that is all he care about. He didn't care where it come from.
I am a historian, brother, so I would love to discuss all the historical developments and aspects of Grenada Carnival or Trinidad Carnival anytime. Right? Don't study now.
Okay. So you want to know the history of where that Bam Bam thing, all that Bam Bam.
I want to know. Don't time me.
But what we could probably do is we could probably try at some point to go to Grenada and have that discussion in Grenada live.
I would love to do that.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
Right? But in the meantime, Eddie, what you could do is talk to the current Prime Minister and see if I could get a kind of honorary citizenship. You understand what I'm saying? Because I represent Grenada anyway, anytime. So talk to him and see what he's saying now, man.
Well, who tell you I had a kind of reach, boy?
Listen, because everybody in Grenada could reach to the Prime Minister. I've been on the road playing music for Carnival and see the Prime Minister side the road.
Right.
Normal.
Yes, but you can see that in Trinidad too, right? You can see that.
No, but under real protection and thing. I see girl run up and whine on the Prime Minister. And back then just Keith.
A girl do that right here too.
Well, I think
he get in trouble for doing that.
I think he went and whine on that girl. I don't think the girl went to whine on him.
There's a traditional thing that even, and I want to say, even the past Prime Minister, Dr. Keith Mitchell, every carnival you could rest assured go and see him by Port Highway. Right. Taking in the mass, taking in the festivities and so. So I think our leaders have been accessible in the past, and I see no reason why that will change. I think that's just the dynamic of this island. We know each other, or we know somebody that knows somebody. That is how it is, But one of the things I wanted to say before we wrap up, though, this is just a prediction. With this election that happened in Grenada, I think this election that happened in Grenada would be a catalyst for a lot of change in Caribbean politics. Because, yes, because a lot of people, how many times have you heard that you're young and them new and them fresh and we ain't giving them a chance, right? Where you just see for the first time a group of young people come in and win an election. You know how much that would motivate other people in other countries that have leaders that have been fixtures there, whether it's Trinidad or St. Vincent or whatever.
Eddie, listen to me. I would love to believe that might happen, but we have our opposition here that wasting people time, and they just had internal elections on Sunday, and they bring back the same. They re-elect the same woman who been taking them down. The road to defeat in the election after election after election. So, boy, I want to believe it could spark a change, but we little hard-headed. We different than Trinidad.
Okay.
So Kamala is going up again for the UNC for the next election.
Yes.
We just don't know who win up for PNM.
And it may very well be well, Dr. Rowley says he's stand.
But he knows saying that Dr. Keith Mitchell was saying, and he was retired and never, you understand?
True. So who knows?
We don't know.
But, and if anything, you see how you say the NDC realized after licks that it was time for a change, to get rid of the old people and bring in some fresh blood. We opposition here, and them don't believe in that. them going on dying.
But Miss Kamala Prasad, wasn't she there since the days Basil Pandey?
Yeah. She became leader after him. She contested leadership against him and won, and they deposed him as leader. And since then, she has been in charge of the party since
2010, 2009, 2010?
2008, 2009, somewhere there. And she's been there.
Because I come in Trinidad for Carnival since in 1990, 1999, in the days of Nigeria and Marvin moving to the left.
Right.
I hear in Kamala name since around them time.
She was Minister of Education back then. That was
Education, she was Attorney General. She held several positions in the cabinet.
And that was in the 95 to 2000 stint.
Well, I don't want no Trinidadian to get vexed with me for saying anything and feel like back talking the leaders or the potential. But all I have to say is that people have to know when it's time to leave.
Yeah.
And sometimes as leaders, it is a reflection on your leadership. If you have not groomed persons to take over from you, that means you didn't mentor anybody to take over from you.
Yes. That's sometimes, not all the time, there's a reflection of your leadership. If there's nobody who can take the party, even to maintain a particular level of momentum or take it forward after you have departed, then it means you have neglected part of your responsibility as a leader, which is, as you say, to mentor and groom leadership below you.
Of course. That's good, it's part of being a good leader.
Yes.
See, them nobody leadership workers. Anyhow, Eddie, thanks again. We appreciate it so much for the insight in Grenada. Hopefully next time we touch base, we could actually be in Grenada and do this live.
Yes. Thanks for having me. And anybody coming to Grenada for Carnival, remember, look out for Flesh Carnival. I didn't ask for the promo. I asked if I could do the plug.
Of course, not the plug. Of course, the plug inside.
Plug away, bro.
So
look out for Flesh Carnival. Right, we're doing a section for the name of the section is called Wild Meat in collaboration with Summer Crew. Flesh Carnival is our brand, and we're also doing a Monday night mass band called Escape. It's based on after 2 going on 3 years of feeling as though you're in prison with us pandemic. It's time to escape. You understand? I'll send you pictures and so you can share it with you. I think I might send you pictures.
Yeah. I see Terry. I see his Terry. You have as a model, right?
Terry Lyons. Terry Lyons will be coming to Grenada and she'll be playing in our section. So, guys, that is a section to be in,
Honestly, back in the days, I had a dread crush on Terry, boy. Yeah, boy.
Oh, God.
Yeah, boy.
Boy, as you say, confession is good for the soul.
Nah.
Oh, okay.
There's that. Confession is good.
Well, confession is good for the soul.
No, but I tell her already. She know that.
Well, isn't that the wife and listening to your wife?
No, listen, my wife and I have a very understanding relationship. I didn't tell her when I was married to my wife. I told her before, Yeah.
All right.
Cool.
Yes.
So, Eddie, do you enjoy?
Yeah, it was a pleasure.
Yeah, good night, Eddie. Stay safe.
All right, man. Take care. Yeah, you too.